there.
Yeah, it's just about that time anyway, so it is recording just about there.
We only have 21 students.
Yeah, they'll come on. Dwayne, can you hear me? Unmute yourself, Dwayne.
Yes, I can.
Did you get my email I sent you earlier today? Did you
No,
check?
I haven't looked. No, I haven't.
We need to talk. I don't know what happened when you submitted this weekend. Some things went into the wrong places, and I don't know. And it was an accident on your end, I think. You just didn't realize it. But I had to take it out, and I sent some feedback, and you're so quick to give to revise your work. I didn't get it back, and I don't know if you got what I sent you or not. Look, I sent you an email today. Just check your email, and then if necessary, we need to talk. We can talk after the class, and I just need to make sure that you realize what I was talking about in there.
Okay.
It was on your task 4 document.
You're talking about the formative and
yeah. I had
formative
told you things to do. Yeah. So just make sure that if there's a question about it, because when I didn't hear back from you, I said I wonder if he has seen that.
Oh yeah, I read that this morning about the.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, as long as you're clear on everything, I'm okay. Okay.
See, I have with the assessment, is it a viable assessment that they actually use their notebooks and you can go by and periodically assess if they're following the task correctly?
Yeah.
Isn't that
yeah, that would be one. Let's talk about that privately though, okay? I just want to make sure you've gotten it. We'll talk about it. I think you're on the right track. We may just need to say it a little bit differently. That's all I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, Dr. Revis, we're going to go ahead and get started. Others will hopefully join us. We've got, but anyway, I just want to thank you for being here this evening, and we are entering week 6 of our 16-week semester. And as we've said every week, time is flying by, and as you look back and reflect back on the last 6 weeks, I think you can attest to the fact that you have covered a lot of territory in 6 weeks or 5 weeks. You've covered a lot of territory. I've looked at some of the work with Dr. Revis that some have turned in, and they sometimes they'll send a running document, and I've gone back and I've looked at it from task 1 to where they are, and it's amazing to see how much has come together for many of them already. So, great, a lot of good stuff. I want to talk about week 6 and just point out that these are the things that will be due this coming Sunday evening. Many of you have already, it started coming in already, but I just need to remind you that the APSL Task 4 revisions are due to Dr. Revis and me, and you should have your completed product turned in. It should have, before you send it in though, I do want to remind you that do not submit anything for an evaluation unless Dr. Revis and I have told you that it's ready for that. And we should not get, at any time, we should not get in Blackboard to grade, like for task 4, we shouldn't get a task 4 to review and a task 4 to evaluate at the same time. And that happened some this weekend. So just make sure that we're following the process. There's a rhyme and reason why you send it to us to look at and review. And we told you before, if you do what we tell you to do, then it'll be ready and cleaned up and ready for to go in for the grade, and you shouldn't have any problems by the time it gets to there. So just make sure that we follow the process on that. The APSL Task 4 peer reviews, and I'm going to tell you, some of you started backsliding a little bit. I think you got tired, and you just did not. I'm beginning to see a little bit of not the quality of work that I feel like that you need to be putting into your peer reviews. That should be as comprehensive as you can possibly make it, and you need to be candid with your peers. If there's something good don't just say it's good. Tell them what you do like about it. Point out something positive. You don't have to say everything, but you need to learn to, as an evaluator, you need to be able to learn to point out the positives, and you need to also be able to point out the areas that need improvement, and and be that. Dr. Revis, we did get some feedback on from. We just need to bring some clarity, and you chime in when you need to. I just want to make sure that students understand that while Dr. Revis and I we read your work and we look at your work and we make comments on your work, but we're not your editors. We're not. Dr. Revis has done a little more than what I have done, but she is also going to back off from that as well. We're not going to be specific with, well, this word needs to be capitalized, this word doesn't need to be capitalized. We're going to tell you that there are problems with capitalization with APA. Your job is to go back into the APA manual and to figure it out. And once you go back and you study it and you figure it out, it makes it so much easier when you go back the next time, because you will have remembered that. And it's no different than you would do your students in the classroom. You're not going to do the work for them. It's the same thing with the research, Dr. Revis. We don't mind you picking our brain some, but your job is to do the research. Our job is to see that you have done the research and that you understand it. Our job is not to help you find the research. We've given you lots of examples in the in the APSL template, and in each week we provide things in there that this is eventually going to go away, because you've got to learn to be resourceful on your own. We're guiding you a lot right now, but with the APSL, there will be some things there, but we begin clipping away some of those help things. So we don't want you to think that it's not that you're not going to learn if we do it for you. So you might call us names and you might not like us, and that's okay. We hope that you do like us, but we're not going to stop. I'm not going to stop being who I am, and Dr. Revis is not going to stop being who she is, because that doesn't teach you. And so you just got to pull up your britches and just hang in there and do what we ask you to do. But please make sure that you do follow up with the comment. And if you don't understand something, ask us about it. We don't mind clarifying something. And the peer reviews should be an opportunity for you to look very, very deep into something, and you're learning yourself, and probably what you do, Dr. Lamb said this, you're helping yourself more than you're helping the other person, because it's a learning process for you. But it should be good feedback that can help the other person. Dr. Revis is going to go over some things in just a few minutes that's going to assist with some of the problems that we have identified. Let's go on. And then this week we're going to introduce task 5. Task 5 shouldn't be a problem once we introduce it, but task 5 will not be sent for review unless you just need Dr. Revis or me to look at it and say, yes, you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing. You can always put anything in the discussion board and just say, is this what you want us to do? Or before it goes for evaluation, we don't mind looking at that, but it doesn't go to your peers. You don't have to do peer reviews on task 5. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. Dr. Revis,
And Dr. Silva, if
go
I
ahead.
could just butt in here just a little bit, give you some
Sure.
general feedback on task 4, and to reiterate something you just said, the quality of work has become much better over the 4 tasks. I was very pleased with the quality of work that my students turned in this week. It's not perfect, but the quality of work is getting much better. You're getting in that rhythm of academic writing, and it's starting to show. So I do appreciate that, and just hang in there. Again, we're just going to try to gradually slow release you because in 603, your next course, neither your instructor or your coach is going to give you the feedback that we have given you. And it's purposefully set up that way, that we support you and try to get you up to that level of academic writing that you need to have in graduate school, and then we gradually release that. So
Dr. Revis, while you're talking, Dr.
Mhm.
Revis prepared this document, and these are some things that I asked her to, if she would go in there and just, we talked this week about the issues that we were continuing to see with APA. So she
Mhm.
created this document, and if Dr. Revis, if you'll go on and just point out
Okay.
that these are things that we continue to need to work on.
All right. Can you scroll back up to the beginning? I want to just do a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go. Yeah.
I didn't
Want to do a
realize.
little exercise. What I try to do is think about what are some of the most frequently made mistakes with APA, and just give you some quick reference guides. And let's look at this in-text citation. This is a paragraph, and actually, your instructors were trained with this paragraph as part of their training in January. And so let's look at that. There are errors in here, APA errors. So I'm going to hush and ask you to read that first sentence. So one of the things that I'm seeing very often is you're including the author's first and last name uh, for that in-text citation in that second line. And so in academic writing, you just use the author's last name. So here we would take off the author's first name, Lawrence, and of course the 2009 is correct. But you also notice that this person has put an additional citation at the end of that first sentence, which is not needed. So that needs to be deleted. Okay, in the second sentence, you see a direct quote here. And what is wrong on this one is when you have a direct quote, at the end of the quote, or the end, usually your quote's going to usually it comes at the end, it may come at the beginning, but right after the direct quote, we need to take the period out, put the quotation marks, parentheses, page number, period. Again, when you have a direct quote, you have got to put the page number, or if it's an online article that doesn't have page numbers, use paragraph numbers, section numbers, those kinds of things. In your APA style guide, all these in-text citations can be found 8.1 through 8.36. It's a huge section, guys, but typically you guys are pulling resources from journals and some books. So there are always exceptions to the rules. I personally, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, I love APA. I love it. But there are also a lot of exceptions to the rules. Okay, let's look at the last sentence there, and starts the Wallace Foundation. And you can see one thing that's changed in the new 7th edition is the first time you have 3 authors, Waters, Marzana, and McNulty, it should just be Waters et al. The first time. And that's a change. And you see the date. And then look at the very end. You've got C figure 3. The only thing that's wrong with that is the C, S-E-E, should be lowercase. Okay, so again, a little bit of academic writing there. Okay, in the next section, Wanted to talk about references. This is a huge section too, much larger than the in-text citation. Again, this is nothing new, but what we're seeing a lot of, this first one is an article from a journal. And what we're seeing a lot of is the title of the article in all capitalization. And that's incorrect. You only capitalize your first word after your date, and if you have a colon, the first word after a colon.
Yeah, the D and double and the T and the, yes.
And it is not in italics. A journal article is regular case, and the title of the journal would be italicized along with the volume number, which is the first number that you cite, parentheses with no space, and that's the issue number, and then followed by the page number. And then if you're pulling your reference from, if it has a digital object identifier, a DOI, then you would put your DOI at the end. Some of your resources will have that, some will not. And then an authored book, a little bit different in that the title of the book is in italics. And then all you have to put down at the end of that is your publisher. You used to have to put down the location and city and all that, but now it's just the publisher. So those are the two most frequently used references through journal articles and through textbooks. And then capitalization. A lot of rules of capitalization have changed, some have not. And this is covered, it's a smaller section, covered at 6.13 through 6.21. Proper nouns and proper adjectives are still capitalized. Names of racial and ethnic groups. And there's a sentence there to show you the proper noun and the racial group. Names of specific universities, departments, university departments, academic institutions, and academic courses. Trade and brand names. Titles of, I put this last bullet in here, or next to the last bullet in here, because a lot of you have referenced these assessments in some of your writing. And I went and looked this up. Titles of published and unpublished tests and measures and their subscales. You typically would not capitalize words such as test and scales unless they are part of the test title. And I went and researched both South Carolina and North Carolina, and it appears that in North Carolina, end of grade test, the test word is part of the title. So you would see how that is used. And then your South Carolina, SC Ready. Remember, the first time that you don't use an abbreviation the first time, you spell it out, and then you can use your abbreviation. And the SC Pass. So those would all be capitalized.
And thank you for sharing that, Dr. Evans, because you just shared some things with me that, because I'm learning this as well.
Yeah.
You know, some of these things.
I'm not going to swear that the word test and the word assessments is to be capitalized, but in every reference that I looked under the accountability sections of both states, I always put that in the title of the assessment. So
yeah, and that's okay. And again, I'm not going to strain at a gnat and swallow a camel over something like that. It's just the obvious things that we are really focusing on.
And then many of you, particularly in task 1, where you were talking about the composition of your PLC, many of you, we love to capitalize. We do. I don't know why. But you would capitalize such things as 6th grade math teacher and mathematics department chair. And the only thing here that would be capitalized would be the person's name, as in that example.
And principal wouldn't be capitalized. Assistant principal wouldn't be capitalized. And I've seen a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. And I think the last thing, just as a reminder, that in general, you use words to express numbers below 10 and numerals to express numbers 10 and above.
Right.
And is that it, Dr.?
That's it. I think that those are the main Those are the main things. You will find this under week 6, so you can go back and refer to this, but these are areas that you need to mark in your APA manual or whatever, because these are the areas that you're going to consistently have to go back to. It's, Dr. Revis, honestly, other than what you've pointed out, there's not a whole lot other than figures and tables that. But this is the bulk of what they're going to have to use all the time. So,
And we didn't require you to buy an APA publication manual. However, I mean, I've got my new edition and I've already got it tabbed and pages worn. And, I find it easier to do that than to try to go online, because the library has some good online resources, but it's not a complete document. So I plug you to go ahead and get one, a manual, but that's up to you.
okay, and while we're talking about, I want us to go back over, I want to go to task 4 that they're finishing up with this week. And Dr. Revis, again, you point out anything that you need to point out as well. The areas that I found to give students the most issues were in the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals and objectives. Sometimes you may have talked about the short-term or the long-term and didn't really talk about mid-term, mid-term goals. But this area, you need to make sure that as you're cleaning up things this week, that you are as comprehensive as you need to be here. All of these areas right here, just remember, and all of them, there's no exceptions. You have to put them in this order, and every one of them must be addressed. And you're telling the story in writing there. And then when you put it into your graphic organizer, you're showing things. You're showing everything that you've talked about there in your graphic organizer. The other area was formative and summative assessment criteria. I had to send several back and remind students that for these purposes, now you may, formative as a classroom teacher, maybe you may look at it differently, but for our purposes, formative assessments are going to be dealing with the grown people, the adults, the teachers, the people in charge of implementation of what is being done. And your job as leading this PLC and this action plan is, now once you get approval and if this action plan is implemented, how do you know that they're doing what they're supposed to do? Remember, there should be fidelity checks along the way. What will those checks be? Now, it could be that, the principal may be the one, as they go through doing walkthroughs, you may be assigned to do walkthroughs. There may be checkpoints where you have the PLC or the department chairs to do some things. So there's lots of ways that you can monitor that what is supposed to be done is actually being done, that people are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're doing it with fidelity. You don't just say, do this, and then you never go back and you monitor it. There's old saying, what gets monitored gets done. And so your job as the leader is, how do you know all of this is what you're implementing is actually happening? And the summative, remember, deals with, that's the end of something, and that's going to be you're monitoring the students there, and is all of this, how are you assessing it at the end to see if it's actually working for the students? Dr. Revis, any comments on that?
No, I think we're good. Some of you did not have time to meet with your administrative team.
And we understood that.
And so I just would make a comment that you need to put that in. I like to hear you talk about your administrative meeting either at the beginning of prompt 2 or at the end of prompt 2.
Right.
Make sure that it's an explicit piece of your prompt 2. And don't forget, you need to have your agenda as an artifact, and you need to have, well, you would probably present it with a PowerPoint. And don't send us a link with your PowerPoint to your PowerPoint slides. You can send us a copy of your slides, and you would also, we didn't tell you have to do a video, but a picture at least would be good.
Right. And remember, we said that the graphic organizer is non-negotiable. All of these areas must be fully addressed. Now, everything that you've done up in prompt 1, the narrative work, remember, you're going to figure out where it goes. A lot of it in here, or all of it in here, and then there's some additional areas, but all of these have to be addressed. And there's several lines because you're not going to just have one activity. This is an action plan. There should be enough activities because you're attacking a problem. What are the activities? If it's one activity, it has to be a mighty big activity, Dr. Revis, and it has to be powerful to be able to have an action plan with just one activity.
And don't forget your professional development that goes along with implementing these new programs.
Right. And just remember, this was optional. The PERT chart was optional. I did have one student that did one and did an excellent job with it. And then as you're making your presentation, remember that all of these areas must be addressed. And I'm not going to go over all of them again because you've got the information. And if you have any questions, pretty much this was, they did a pretty good job on just the ones that I have seen. When you submit your work back to Dr. Revis and me for review, if everything, if your agenda's in there, your presentation for your with your administration, and you've corrected all this stuff, then your grade will be changed with with whatever you got for just a review. But if you've done everything that you're supposed to do, then when we say submit, to the APSO assignment Dropbox, then that means that for the most part, it should be quality work, and it should be ready, because we're not going to tell you that until we know that it's ready for that. Okay. So any other questions about any other comments about that, Dr. Revis?
No, like I said, I was very pleased with
Yeah.
quality of work this time.
And a lot of it's starting to come in this week, and I mean already this week, and so get that to us, and we'll give you a feedback on that as soon as you get it to us. Task 5. The candidate will reflect on the APSL. This is the last of the 5 tasks of Evidence 1, the APSL. This is your opportunity to go back and reflect on the APSL experience on your own. What you're going to do, there are 12 of the 21 competencies for this semester that you are going to be required to respond to with the APSL. And we've told you exactly what they are. Now here, I want you to see, Dr. Lamb has done an excellent job providing, examples of what conflict management should look like. And this is just an example. This would be you. What did you do relative to conflict management as it relates to the APSL, and or it can be part of your clinical experience, as long as it ties back in to something that you have done administratively at your school to this point. But all of these have been addressed, but I want to come on down and show you. Talked about every one of them. But now for the these are the 8 that are required for the APSL. Now you'll find this under your template. These are the 8: communication, change management, delegation, dialogue, inquiry, judgment, system thinking, technology, and visionary. These are the 8 that are required. These are non-negotiables. Now remember, there are 21. These are all 21. Those 8 are embedded in this 21. After you've done these 8, then that means that there are what?
4.
12, there's 12 left, or I mean 13 left. So out of that 13, you pick 4 more of your own that you want to address for the APSL. That would be 8 plus 4, that's 12. 12 competencies you must talk about for the APSL development.
Or Dr. Stedman, those other 4, could they not choose things they've done from their internship experience?
They could.
Yeah.
They could. But it can be any 4 that you want, remaining other than the 8 that's already been identified, any 4. And that means that there are 9 competencies left. Those are the 9 competencies that you will address in task 4 of the APTEL, evidence 2, that we'll go into in a few weeks. That will be your 21 competencies for this semester. Dr. Lamb, are you there? He has not joined us yet. Okay.
Dr. Stedman, is there any way that we could go back and pull up that document that shows what evidences they've already collected?
I'm here.
Okay, Dr. Lamb. Okay.
I've been here the whole time.
Okay. Let's go ahead, and while we're there, I'm going to stop sharing. And if you would pull up, as they know what they've got to do with task 5, but I want you to relate it to the competency folio at this point.
Okay.
Okay, I've stopped sharing. And as Dr. Land's pulling it up, remember, you've got the APSL helpful hints that will help you, and then you've got the actual APSL, the model that we've given you, the model of the APSL that shows all of this as well. So make sure that you go back to those documents and use them in guiding you in this process.
All right. Where are we here? Let me turn my video on. Here I am. All right. What Dr. Stedman's been talking to you tonight about is competency analysis, not to be confused with competency folio. Competency analysis comes at the end of each of the 6 evidences. You have to write us an analysis of what you've done to be competent. That is a narrative, it is argument, as we call in the business. You get to argue that I have achieved competency. And you have to tell us what you've done. That would be an evidence, a written narrative that tells us what you've done for competency. And so you will select 8 and 4, 8 that are program 4 of your choice. So that'll be 12, and then you'll do the other 9. So you'll write all 21 of your competencies this semester. Now, please do not confuse that with your competency folio. What I have students who do is we created a competency folio back earlier in the semester. They'll go to that competency folio and they'll take and click on communication and they'll copy and paste that competency analysis in there. That's okay if you then have an artifact to go with that. The competency folio is for artifacts, things. For example, under communication, if you write about communication in your competency analysis for the APSL and you write, I sent a letter or email to my principal and that shows digital competency using communication, and you write that as your competency analysis, it would be okay to upload that in your competency folio as a description of what artifact, a screenshot of that email. But without the screenshot of the email, it's not complete. And you say, Dale, but what if I have something else? You can use something else. But don't think, oh, I've already done competency analysis. I have what I need for my competency folio. No. Competency folio is things. You can set it up with a little narrative, but you cannot just put the narrative. We must have an artifact. Now, if you will go back to your class, if you will go to, see if I can get mine to work here, 601. I got it to work. All right. Let me go to 60102, Dr. Stedman's shell. You should see it on there. If you will go back, and I was looking for it this afternoon to make sure it was here, under Mel's Handbook and Competency Folio. Competency Folio evidence proof from the 6 evidence artifacts. And so, when I opened this document, and I wanted to show you that it was already in your shell. Every time I show you a document without showing you how I pulled it up, everybody sends me an email. Can you send me that? No, you already have it. It takes a little bit longer to do it this way, but this will save me 1,000 emails. It's already in your shell. It's under Competency Folio Resources. So, as you can see, email permission should have been the first artifact that you created this semester. Now, when you write about how you achieved competency for communication, if you write about how you sent that email, then you could put that in your folio as long as we have a screenshot of that email. You can match them like that. You can miss them. You don't have to match them if you don't want to, but you can match them that way. But the mistake that everybody makes is, oh, I've done competency. I'll just copy and paste my analysis into the folio. No, we don't care if you write anything or not. I don't. I just want to see your stuff. I want to see artifacts so that when we go to TaskStream, and we click on folios and web pages, and we retrieve our folio that we created earlier this semester. Let me find one. Here we go. That's the last one with the dinosaur on it. And we go to communication. It would be okay. I believe that if you wrote it up correctly, that communication, and you wrote it up about the email that you sent your principal, it does satisfy this digital learning competency as well. That's a threefer. You wrote it up, you have a screenshot of the actual email, and it fits a digital learning competency all at one time. That's 3 birds, 1 stone. And so when you go in, what you would do is we got to have one from the app cell for communication. That fits it. It can be digital as well, fits that. And so we'd go in under main text, and we would copy and paste right here. We would copy and paste our competency analysis for communication. Let me find one right quick. Let's see. I probably don't have one plugged in here. Take me a second to do that. Plug one in. And so we would go in and we would copy and paste that competency analysis if it's about that email we sent. And so we would go to our paper and we would copy it Aha, there it is. All right, so we would go back and we would, let's see. I bet that one don't have one. We try this one. Now let's see if this has got one. Let me go out of the way. Yeah. All right. So I would go to my one from communication. And let's pretend that this one right here says communication. And I would do this. I'd simply copy my communication one that mentioned that email that I sent to my principal. I would copy it. I would go back here where I put main text for communication, copy, paste. I'm gonna put communication. And I am going to save and return. And so it has my communication. Then I'm going to hit attachment. And I'm going to actually upload the screenshot. Let's see if I've got a screenshot that I can upload. Upload from computer. Select file. And I'm going to go to my pictures. Screenshots, open. There's my screenshot of my email. I open it up. Upload and close. Save and return. And voila. I have my narrative, my analysis. It says this is what I did for communication. It fits digital. This is my analysis, and here's my actual screenshot of the email that I sent. It's just that simple. So I've got my write-up that tells me what I'm going to see, and I've got the actual artifact, which is the screenshot. You don't have to match them like this. You could put something else's communication, but you can't. The point is, you can't just put competency analysis. What's important is that screenshot. That's the important piece. And it's just that simple in how you can go in there and do that. But you need to start looking at this list right here. Again, where can you find this? In your shell, under Competency Folio Resources, and start looking. These are the artifacts that I have generated from doing the app sale. I need to start figuring out what they fit and what I can put them in, or maybe I could even write them up in competency analysis as a tool, where I don't have to write a caption for them. I'll already have the caption if I write this particular artifact in my competency analysis. I won't have to upload it and then tell everybody what it is. It will already be, I've already told what it is in competency analysis. That's just working smarter, not harder. So here are the things that you're going to generate. These are the ones that fit the app test, These are the things that you've got. And just like the email permission from your principal, the agenda, minutes, and pictures, those fit competencies 1, 3, 6, 12, and 20. And that would be communication is 1, conflict management, 6 is delegation, 12 is organizational ability, and 20 is time management. Use those for any of those. You can see total set of validated scores, 16 and 18. That tells you what competencies they fit, where we will accept them. This document is in your class shell. So start looking, planning ahead. And you start writing your competency analysis. Look, see what artifacts you've got. Maybe I can write about the artifacts that I have so that when I upload my artifacts, I won't have to set the caption there. I already have the caption already.
Dr. Lamb, remind them it's also in there when you go out. Show them the example again, that student example that we've given them of how all this can be written up.
Sure. All right. So you have given them a sample in 7th edition APA.
We've given them what is her name? Anara or Anira?
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about what it should look like in the end. Anira Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what it should look like in the end.
And they have this example in their class shell as well.
Yep, they've got the link to this example. Doodly do. All right, let me do a quick search.
Anara, I keep calling her Anira. I'm close.
And this is what it should look like when I open it up under communication. I should see a description of what I'm going to see for the app cell. And she just simply copied her competency analysis is all she did. And then down here are the files. You just go back to that text and you just keep adding text for each one. Just separate them like she did. Fall 17, app cell, spring 18, spring 19. And then she marked which ones were digital as well. And then she uploaded these. And so you can see how it's supposed to look in the end. One from the app cell, one from open-ended, one from the SOP, and there's the 3 artifacts right there. And it tells you up here the directions under each one. Now,
and Dr. Lamb, as a reminder, if you are in my 2 classes, then you will send all of these things for Dr. Revis to look at. And if you are in Dr. Revis's class, you will send this to me to look at.
yep. Now, so that should be that. Now, early on tonight, Dr. Stedman cautioned you about moving to 603 with me. I do not comment on APA at all. I suspect by the time you get there that you should be the expert. The only thing is I might say something like, move that figure from appendices to the main body in order to fit APA format. I may say big rock things like that. I'm not going to say you capitalized this or misquoted that or those kinds of things. We don't do that in 603. We've got to pick up the pace in 603. We got to go faster because I got a whole lot more stuff other than the evidences to do in 603. I have you coming, going to and fro, and you have a weekly activity. You got to go with somebody or find something. 603 is operations. You got to shift gears. Operations, you got to be much faster. It's law, finance, that kind of thing. It's not. There's no opinion. It's not opinion based. And so you got to pick up. You need to get familiar with APA during this course so you can go fast enough. That leads me to last thing that Dr. Stebbins wanted to talk about tonight is case studies.
And this is, your case study is not due until week 8. This is a part of your, but we wanted to introduce it tonight so that you can go ahead and begin planning or doing the independent work yourself and begin planning with your Zoom team so that when week 8 gets here, that you'll be okay with it.
All right, 2 weeks before the time that it's due, you folks need to contact one another and work out your schedule, read the case, and then come online together.
Dr. Lamb, we've got a lot of noise in the background.
Let me see if I can go to them. You'll have to go and mute everybody. It won't give me that since I'm not the host. You can go to your dashboard and participants and mute everybody, including me, and I'll. All right, I'm back. Thank you. All right, so 2 weeks ahead, the person who is the leader of the Zoom team leader gets in touch with everybody else. You pick a time, you come online, make sure that you have read the case. You talk about the case. And so.
Can you open up the case study directions, Dr. Lamb?
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Okay.
But before I do that, I want everybody to focus on, I want 2 weeks before you start this, before this thing is due, I want you to contact the leader of the group to contact the others and have a Zoom session. Very important. Make sure you have read the instructions and the case before you come. Don't do that once you come online. We want you to video that, and then you will write an individual written reflection of the process. Let me be clear now. The product from the meeting is the video, not next semester you're going to have to do an actual presentation from that get-together. Not this semester, a little at a time. This semester, the product from your Zoom meeting is the Zoom video. I get 1,000 questions. We get bombarded. Well, what are we supposed to? Just the video. Now, once the video is over, and not before, let me say that again, not before you've had your video meeting, then you will write a reflection. I get too many of those where people write a reflection before they ever have the meeting. Don't do that. Wait till you have the meeting, record the meeting. That is the product. That is the deliverable from the meeting, is the video. And then write your reflection as to what you got out of this process, whether it be from the case itself, from working with others. Tell us what you got out of the process. So let's make sure we go to the directions first. All right, here's the case study directions. Read the case study and write a 1-paragraph response. That's so that you'll be able to have something in your hand when you come online and won't be the village idiot saying when you have your Zoom meeting. Write it down. If you're lucky, you'll get as old as I am one of these days and you have to write everything down. I have a pad next to me at all times. But even then, it's amazing. A few times you go on video and you know you read the case and you go on video and you're kind of on the spot and all you can say is, write it down. The Zoom master schedules and sends out the link and records the session. Each member shares their written response. If you can remember it, good, but if you can't, write it down. And you engage in a scholarly discussion. Now, what you wrote about the response to the questions is not the product. It may be a part of your reflection, but that's not the product. That's just to prep you for the meeting. Take notes. Be prepared in meetings. That's one of those skills that you need to learn. Don't ever show up to a meeting with questions that you don't already know the answers to. Take notes on what you do. Look at my pad. Every meeting I go to is scripted. I've already written out what I want to know or what I'm going to say. Now, I don't sit and read them. I'd wear my finger out and my lips. But I already know, I've already outlined what I'm going to do. You need to get in that habit. These are not extemporaneous bull sessions. These are professional meetings. There's a certain level of professionalism that's required in preparation before you go. That's what we're teaching you here is before you enter into a professional setting as an administrator, you're supposed to know. You're supposed to have done your homework and read the things. And trust me, you will remember it better if you write it down. Take notes on the case itself so that you can enter into a discussion, the things that you think are important. And so make sure that you do that. See right here, this is from last Saturday's case study with my doctoral student. It says that case study, DOL 738. And it's got all the things that I wanted to remember. Now, I've done that case so many times, I've wore it out. You can see through the paper. But I still wrote my note out for that case study. That's called professionalism. Write your notes out. Be prepared. And then at the end, if you want to integrate that into your reflective summary, that's fine. But you may want to write about something else. Somebody else had a better idea than you, or everybody else that you work with, you know, is not too smart, and they didn't see the efficacy of your ideas. Whatever extracts you from that. It could be some of those notes could go into that. But we're teaching you how to do a professional meeting, collaborative meeting is what you're supposed to be learning here. The content of the case study is fairly simple. I mean, there's no heavy lifting here. But what we're going to be looking for is how you conduct yourself. Do you show up at a meeting of peers prepared? Or do you expect them to have read the stuff and just tell you so that you can just kind of freelance your own opinion? If you're going to be one of those kind, which lasts about a week in our business. And so that's the directions. And then you have the case study itself. And this is what you read. The principal is the instructional leader. You read it and you answer the questions that it has with you. And then you put your written reflection and Zoom link. Here, it'll take both. And here's your second case study that we'll do later. All right, so let's look at, I'm watching my time, Dr. Stedman. I've ranted so much, I'm about out of breath and out of time.
Yeah.
And here you read this, you read it, and then you've got 4 little questions at the end. Shouldn't take you but 10 or 15 minutes to write some thoughts about those 4 questions. I mean, this is not heavy lifting, but we're going to watch those videos, see how you do. Were you prepared, or did you just show up, you know, off the cuff? Dr. Stedman always teases me about coming in on the last wheel, and I usually do. But the reason why is because I got here and I got all my stuff out and got prepared before I came on. I took notes for this afternoon session. They're right here as I showed you. This afternoon in the office, I took notes on things that I've been looking at your work that I wanted to make sure and to stress tonight. That's the way. You don't show up, even if it is a video session, you don't show up unprepared. And that's what this is training you to do. In professional settings, there are expectations of your behavior and your professionalism.
Dr. Lamb, one of the things we would expect when you do, when you come together as a Zoom team, case study 1 is aligned with the work you have done with the APSL. So we should experience a lot of the APSL language when you are talking is professionally. We should hear a lot of those experiences as you have tied it and related it to, you know, to the case study itself. Dr. Revis, any comments?
It's nothing new, and I promise I'll be quiet. It's nothing new. It's simply a review of what you've done so far.
Right.
with the app cell is all it is. It's not, it's not, oh, now I've got to go do this. It's complete. Nope.
No.
Simply a review of what you've done.
No. And and our plans next week will be that you will have completed all 5 tasks of the APSL. And next week when we come online, we're going to tell you how to put it all together into the one document that you will finally, and we'll talk about what do you do with it then? Where does it go once you put it together? You'll send it back to Dr. Revis and me to make sure that it's all what it needs to be. Dr. Lamb, if he's with us, he can join in with us and we can talk about, then we will talk about the Turnitin process, and then we will talk about task streams. So those are the things that's going to be our big focus next week. Now that you've done all 5 tasks, what do I do with it now? Put it all together, and then what do I do with it after I put it together and I get approval? So that's pretty much where we'll be next week, Dr. Lamb.
All right. So we're coming back next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yes. And
all right.
And we
Everybody
may
be
not.
safe. I don't know
And
about
we
the
may
weather.
not, and we may not even be there for a whole hour next week because we want to, we want to give you some time to begin working with your team. So if we can get it done in 30 minutes next week, then that may be our goal, to try to get it done in 30 minutes. And that way you can come online immediately afterwards with your Zoom teams and begin working on it. And we'll work on that. Dr. Revis, anything?
If you're behind, the next couple weeks is going to be your kind of window to get caught up on everything. Even if you're behind in submitting final tasks, do not get behind with your team members on the case studies, because you have to be engaged in those case studies and those Zooms for us to score your level of participation and your scholarly dialogue. So don't get behind on those kinds of things.
And just remember, and we'll talk about this more next week, when you get, once we tell you that that the APSL is completed and you can, it goes through Turnitin, then no longer is it in my hands, no longer is it in Dr. Revis's hands, no longer is it in Dr. Lamb's hands. It goes to the outside evaluator then. So somebody that you've never met is going to look at your work. So that's why we push the way we do and say, because somebody's going to look at it and they have some high expectations for the work that will be submitted to them. Okay? We will see you next Tuesday, and we look forward to getting your work this week. Okay?
Everybody have a good week. Stay safe during the weather.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.